quick.
In the sub and everything.
We would have came running from Imps. Talk about what's up. We got you. All right, let me play this.
Mom said that she want him to go to a HBCU because she want him to have that black experience, right? And then she really believed this in her fucking head. Like, okay, so I said, you want him to go to a subpar school, and I'm just being honest, where he's getting phone calls from colleges. You want to send him to a subpar school to get a so-called black experience?
Why is it subpar?
It's subpar like hell to all the other schools you have access to, and what his mom in her mind, what she's doing. Like I'm saying, look.
Can you? What are
the schools?
Like what schools specifically?
Yeah. What schools are you talking about?
All these girls went to an HBCU, so that's why I
can hear y'all.
If you want to call Howard subpar, you're wrong. If you want to call Spelman subpar, Morehouse subpar, lost, and lost. So those are not subpar schools.
So
hold on.
And depending on the particular school that you're going to, whether it's for nursing and engineering, where they have one of the highest rates of graduates, period, some of them are HBCUs. So before we call a school subpar, what are we comparing it to? What school?
Yeah, are you talking about like data?
Let's look at the graduation rate of those particular schools as well. So I don't know, just because it's a black school doesn't mean it's subpar.
All right. Now, I'm gonna answer your question. I don't care about the graduation rates.
Okay, but so what is it based on? What data?
Y'all gonna let him answer?
I'm trying to answer our question.
About it.
So my son, he's going to school. He's going to school for finance, right? Google the top schools of finance and tell me one HBCU that's in the top 10. So yes,
I can tell you nursing. I can tell you engineering.
But I didn't say he's going to school for nursing.
So that's what I'm asking.
Wait. See, this is the issue, right? This is an issue what we're dealing with, right? If you looking out for your child, do you want the best for your child or you want the best for you? Because see, my kid's mom, she wasn't thinking about him. She was thinking about what she wanted for him. Because he been going to white schools all his life. Most of his friends is white. She wanted him to be in a position that me and her was in. To be around some. No, that's insane. You will send him to a subpar school in his field of finance. He's not going to school to be a nurse. You will send him a subpar school, and your reason for doing that is because you want him to get a black experience.
That's a fair point.
You said the top 10. Okay, so there's probably like 2,200 universities across the country. I don't know if that's still an accurate number.
Yes, sir.
So you're telling me if they're not in the top 10 that you found on Google, they're subpar?
He told you to Google it.
Say this at Kayla.
No, because that's the context he gave. That's the data he said. He said type in Google.
Okay, I'm gonna do this for you, right?
So my question, are you saying that if it doesn't come up?
I got it for you. Right? I got it for you right here. Say you had a son.
No, I just want to know. Yes or no?
No, listen. Say you had a son. He wanted to go to school to be a lawyer. He got offers from Morehouse and Harvard. What would you tell your son to do?
Again. No, I'm not going to answer your question because I just asked you a question and you decided that you're going to ask me a question. So, what? No. You don't want to answer my question, then it's okay.
Go ahead and repeat the question, ma'am. I'm sorry.
If, based on what you said, if out of all the universities in the country, you put in the top 10 that came up on Google, are you saying that if it's not in the top 10, that it's a subpar school?
No. What I'm saying, in the field of finance.
In the field of finance. If it's not in the top 10, are you saying it's a subpar school?
If it's not in the top 10, once you start getting there, you got, you know what I'm saying, you got advisors, you got everything. That's why I gave you the analogy. Because I'm answering your question. That's why I gave you the analogy.
So you said your answer was no.
What?
Your answer was no. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
It's no.
Okay.
All right.
So then
Now, the thing I was saying, hold up. Because the thing I was saying is you going to do what's best for your child? Or is you going to push your emotions and your values on that child and therefore put him at a disadvantage? Because I don't care who you is. You can be in Douglas High School in Atlanta, hoodest school in the world, and I went there, and guess what? You had a scholarship to go to Harvard, and you had a scholarship to go to Morehouse. Even the most ratchet person will tell you to go to Harvard.
Well, that was a lot.
That was painful.
Mm-hmm.
It was. It took a lot of energy to listen to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like your boy in the corner that was like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah.
This is why I had to slide it. Well, I shouldn't say
Yeah,
slide.
that's how
I had to
we
message
started
you.
talking because of this. And so it was a lot in this show. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, for the idea first, not understanding, Morehouse to Harvard, let's talk. Ivy League schools are in a whole different spectrum from other particular schools. So that
Right, exactly, and I can speak to that because my wife got into Fisk and she got into Harvard.
Yeah,
she chose Fisk. She's board certified internal medicine and practicing women's health medicine right now. So it's like you can't just look at the name. You don't look at which has the best name. You look at, if I send my child to this school, who's going to graduate my child and do the best they can to let my child get to where they need to go. And we know, depending on, I can speak to medicine and dentistry, and we know that Xavier University in New Orleans, Spelman, Morehouse, Howard, I can go on and on. That's where you want to send your kids to if you want them to get there. If you want them to just have a name and they may or may not get to school, then you send them to the white school.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing to keep in mind here is like, oh boy, I would listen to him. Like, I'm originally from Atlanta, so I'm listening to him talking. I'm listening to his accent. I'm like, is he from Atlanta? Then he mentioned Douglas. I'm like, oh, he's from Atlanta, and I know what Douglas is. And then he said he went to Douglas High School. And the thing, like, to keep in mind when you have conversations like this, so you don't get in like, because the thing is, it's like Clint, for example. I use Clint. Clint has a business. They expanding. They got all these different cities. Clint probably wouldn't get in a business conversation or competition with somebody who's selling hot wings out their house. Does that make sense? It's like you selling hot wings at your house. Like I got 2 places in Nashville. I got a place in Atlanta. I got a place in Chattanooga. I'm in the West Coast. Like I'm not in your league. Like, they could chirp and however they want, but it's like he probably would be like, cool, do your thing. God bless you, and keep it moving because it's not worth his time. And so, like, listen to him. It's like, okay, where is he speaking from up here? Like we went to HBCUs. We've been, some have been HBCUs and PWIs, have been on campuses. We've been in the professional world. This man, I would ask him, I don't know him. I would ask him, like, what degrees, what colleges you've been to, what colleges you attend, your friends, so on and so forth. So I understand what's the conversation we can have. If he tells me I didn't go to college and I didn't have that experience and none of my friends went to college, I'm from the hood, I'm from the dirt, and this, that, and the third, we can't have a conversation. Like, what conversation can we have? Because he's going off what he's seen on TV. I'm going off me being in the mix of HBCU, me being on campuses, me being in the real world. I'm going off real world experiences that I'm speaking about, and I know people personally who went to HBCUs who big time. I know people at HBCUs ain't nothing. I know people went to PWIs who ain't nothing. I know people went to PWIs was something. I know the whole gamut. So this guy right here, he was talking about him and his wife, they were around black people, and you could tell he values white people more than black people. So it's like having a college conversation. Like, that's pointless because he actually values white skin more than black skin. That's a whole deeper situation that you got to address with him before you even get to HBCUs and PWI.
Man, the irony is, I was a finance major, right?
They're working out, right?
This the crazy thing. I think that he was speaking out of ignorance, right? And you know, a lot of people do that. He was advocating the brand of Harvard, right? But the question, you know, he was proposing is about the, you know, longevity and the career of his child, right? And many times people got to understand it's not about the school that is going to determine that. It's about the opportunities that the kid takes while he's in school.
Yep.
You know, there's so many HBCUs right now, especially because, man, we're a hot commodity right now. You just talked about DEI and the fact that people are searching for Black talent to include in their organizations. So the real question you should be asking is not whether or not Morehouse or Harvard, you know, which one to choose between the two, but which school has the pipelines within the major to be able to assure that your child can get involved and put itself in position to get the opportunity once they graduate, right? So it's like, you know, when we were in school within Tennessee State College of Business, there were different internships that were available. I remember one of my frat brothers, Will Bush, was super deep into, you know, interviewing through, I think it was like the third Good Marshall program, something they were in, that was all about putting them with top financial firms when they graduated, right? And so, you know, he would intern with these large corporations, you know, over the course of the summertime. That might have been an opportunity that either he was matched up with another Caucasian from like a Harvard or another, you know, Ivy League school, but he got the same opportunity to show his value because he went to a school that had the pipeline that could direct him to where he wanted to go. And so it's not about whether or not it's a, you know, in the conversation they were having, it's not about, you know, HBCU versus PWI. It's about diving deeper into the majors at these schools to see, hey, if my son wants to study finance, like what does that finance department have available at the time for him to be able to reach out to the moment he steps on the campus and make sure he's involved to put himself in a position to win in the end.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback off what Clint said, you know, I have a son. I have a 13-year-old who will be going into high school. So my next 4 years, we're tunnel vision, college bound. And we talk about college since he was little. I am and his father are very big advocates of him going to an HBCU, if not for nothing, at least undergrad experience, you know, because, you know, you can talk about the academics, of it all, but what's important to me also is the mental experience as a young Black man going into these schools and being set up for success or failure. I mean, we see it on the news all the time. You know, a lot of our young Black boys go to these PWIs, they get caught up in some rape scandal, you be in the wrong place at the wrong time. They can't wait to kick you right out of there. You may not even did anything, you know, and you don't have any opportunity, any representation. And I just want him to mentally be in a place where he can grow and feel safe. And right now in this atmosphere, while these laws changing and no more conceal and carry, anybody can get a gun, they shooting up schools left and right, you know, at least for me as a mother, I feel they're even hanging people, putting nooses on these schools and all this crazy stuff that's going on. Listen, I personally feel more comfortable knowing that whether my son goes to DC and at Howard, that he's at least around people that are like him, where he can grow in a safe space, at least for this period of time, to where he can get strong. So when he hits that outside world, he's ready, you know?
I would tell you, you know, speaking from like what he mentioned Harvard and he mentioned the HBCU. That's my life, right? I'm being real with you. That's my life. I did my intern year at Harvard, right? Harvard Hospital. And I would, this is what I'll say to you, is that I can tell you emphatically, not one of those four brothers at the top of that screen has stepped foot on Harvard's campus. Nope. Because if they had, what they would tell you is, and I'm not saying that based off of what they look like or how they talk, that's a whole different, you know. But anybody that's Black that's been on Harvard will tell you Harvard is not shit. It's brick buildings. Harvard looks like the projects. I'm not It does. It's brick building. But you know what's the difference? You know what they do? They say that is culture. That shows you it's old. And it shows you the origination of the institution, and we want to keep it authentic, right? But when we do that at TSU, it means shit's run down, right? Like they have the same issues. These buildings are, as Clint was talking earlier, these buildings are 300 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole thing, they keep them up, but there is definitely issues that are, that occur within those buildings and where they live. But the whole thing is that, you know what, it's authentic. I'm going through this experience, this Harvard experience that everyone else, Zuckerberg, has gone through, and all these people, they just frame it different, and it sounds great, but it's still, and forgive me, but like I think about some of the plumbing issues I heard about it at TSU, it's still the same shitty issues, right? But what I would tell you, man, is that ultimately, as it relates to Harvard, TSU, it goes back to opportunity. When you're talking about your kid, it's about opportunity. And Harvard sounds nice, but let me tell you this one: when you go to Harvard and you're in your, biology 1, Chem 1 class, we all took it, right? If you Kappa Alpha Psi Omega, Alpha, whatever, I'm definitely gonna say Kappa first, but whatever you look towards, those fraternities aren't as prominent on those campuses, if they exist at all. But Kappa Delta, Alpha Chi, whatever they are, and guess what? When you go to take that test in their houses, the Alpha Chi house, they've got the test. What class you taking? Okay, let me show you. Here you go. This is the answer key for test 1, test 2, test 3, right? But if you're Black, you don't have access to those answer keys, right? And so when you're saying, I want to be a physician, and you go to Harvard, you're not working 2 times as hard, as which we all know you have to do. You're working 10 times as hard, but guess what? You don't have access to the resources that they do because you wanted to go to Harvard. You get what I'm saying? Versus when I listened to Freddie talk, and we'll go back to this, one thing he said, he got to campus, he was 16. Man, let me tell you, there were real people, real G's that helped raise him. He was 16. They took him under their wing and they became the big homies and made sure, you know what, I'm going to make sure nothing happens to you, right? I want to make sure you have the ability to grow. He wouldn't have had that if he went to Cornell, if he went to Harvard. He's competing against those people and they're pissed off because saying, well, why the hell are you here at 16, right? If you're 16, that means you're a brainiac. You should know how to do this shit on your own, right? It's a completely different vibe, completely different experience that you have. And so, Freddie, I agree with you when you said if you you had gone to Cornell, you might not be you. I agree with you wholeheartedly because I've seen it, and I can tell you probably wouldn't be. But I'm proud of who you are now. So, 100%.
And I want to say this too: like it's those type of mindsets that hurt the ability of our culture to graduate, build organizations that are filled with Black talent. Right. So, for example, like he mentioned, he went to Douglas High School in Atlanta. I had the pleasure of being able to go to, mixed high schools, all Black middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like I went from back and forth throughout my educational experience, right? And I can truly tell you that there's nothing more powerful than being in a room in a higher institution of learning that's filled with like sharp Black minds, right? That can push you to the next level. And you don't have to worry about somebody trying to snub your opinion or twist your words because everything is just real, right? And like even for us as we grow and build our organization, like we're blessed to be able to have someone like a Marie as a project manager at our company, right? And we have others that's just as talented as Marie, and we're building an organization based on Black talent because we come from an environment that's all it was, right? And we know how sharp we can be and how much we can build just doing it together. But when you have those type of ideologies that you have to go to a white institution to get the best education, man, you are missing everything the culture needs to push forward once you graduate.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, let me bring something up too, because Lavelle, you brought it up as far as the percentages of doctors that come out of HBCUs. But I saw this and I wanted to share before I go to another clip that I want to discuss. HBCUs are responsible for 75% of the Black PhDs, 46% of the Black business executives, 50% of Black engineers, 80% of Black federal judges, 85% of Black doctors, 50% of Black attorneys, 75% of Black military officers, 40% of Black dentists, 50% of Black pharmacists, and 75% of Black veterinarians. So when we talk about Black excellence, and the thing is, which people don't realize, there's majority of Black folks go to PWIs. So that gets missed in the sauce, which people don't understand. We are, all of this greatness, majority of doctors, lawyers, veterinarians, dentists, all executives coming out of HBCUs. However, the majority of Black folks go to PWI. So what does that tell you? Wow. It's not slawness that you're getting when you go to these schools. It's greatness that we produce. And it's because we hold each other accountable. Yeah. When I see you and I see you slacking, well, you out here rough. Let's get it together. We hold each other accountable at these schools, and we continue still to hold each other accountable. If I'm not on my shit, best believe old Sharika ass is gonna be like, what's going on with you? All day. Yeah. Girl, get off my phone. But this is things that, again, because we're family. So
yeah. And one thing, Courtney, I didn't see that statistic there, but like as it relates to HBCUs, we make up, I think it's like 3% of all colleges, but we represent 25% of Black college graduates. Right? It's crazy. Oh, my bad.
Don't play me.
My bad. I'm jumping gun. I'm telling you,
this is some more stuff that I found. All right. So according to the U.S. Department of Education, HBCUs comprise approximately 2.3%, which is 105 out of 4,495 colleges and universities in the U.S. of all institutions of higher education. Yet HBCUs graduates 25% of our African-American professionals. 50% of African-Americans who graduate from an HBCU go to graduate or professional schools. 8 out of 10 African-Americans who go to pursue a PhD or HBCU graduates, and HBCU graduates 75% more African-Americans than non-HBCUs. So you are absolutely correct. HBCUs are very minimal. 105 out of almost 5,000. And then you have the audacity to say schools are subpar if they're not out the 100. I think Howard ranked in general was like 126 as far as the top schools out of the nation.